What's going on, PlayDate Community? Welcome back to another episode. My name is Franchovy, and in this series, we're going to be building your game. Now, just as a reminder, feel free to leave all your suggestions for what we should be doing in this game development series down below in the comments. And in the meantime, we're going to get back to these particles that we left off in the last episode. So let's get right into it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to separate out the animation into three parts. If you look at the animation, it's starting, it's playing, and then it's ending. And we want to have a fine-grained control about when to start it, when to loop, so that it can loop as much as we want, and then when to end it. So we're going to create what's called a state, like an animation state. So up above the class particles, let's put in a comment, dash dash, and let's say animation states. So I'm going to put a dash dash just to end that bracket, that section. So we're going to create a first one called local animation states equals open curly brackets, and we're going to come up with four states. We're going to do pre, so equals, and here you can say 1 2 3 4. Let's just run 1 2 3 4. Pre equals 1. Then we're going to call loop equals 2. Post equals 3. And then none equals 0. I mean, whatever you assign on this side doesn't really matter. We're going to use the left-hand side to actually use this in their code. The right-hand side, as long as it's just different, then we're good. We're going to create one more class, which is going to be local. So we need to know when this animation begins and when the animation ends. So that depends on where in the file that animation state is at. So we're going to create basically a table with these indexes inside of them. So we're going to do animation indexes equals curly brackets open. And we're going to do, so animation states dot pre equals open another curly brackets. And it's going to start at 1. And I've already looked at the table, so I know these ones. 10. So 1, 10, close curly brackets. And then we're going to do animation states, dot loop equals, open curly brackets, 11, 2, 33. Comma, so close curly, comma. Animation states dot post equals, and we're going to do 34 to 44. And we don't need to bother with the none. We're not going to use it. So you're seeing that we're getting a bunch of errors here. That's because we can't use these as keys, because Lua is trying to understand that this is code. And so it's trying to calculate it, but it doesn't understand that these are keys. So in order to tell Lua, I want these to be a key, what you got to do is you got to open up square brackets around animation states dot pre, animation state dot loop, and post. So put some square brackets around there, and you'll see that everything's fine. So just for cleanliness, let's add a little const on animation states and on animation indexes. And so this is basically handling the entire thing. So let's make sure that our sprite starts with the pre animation state. So let's call it self.state equals animation states dot pre. And then we're going to do, inside the update function, I'm going to add a comment over here on the code that we already have. We're going to say loop through image table. And then before that, we're going to say change state based on, well, state and index, let's say. Okay. So we're going to change this code a little bit so that it actually points to the current state that we're in, and it loops through this same animation that we're doing. So here, instead of saying self.index is less than image table, we're going to say self.index is less than animation indexes, open brackets, self.state. And now, if you'll remember, we actually have two numbers here. And so we could potentially do this, put a second square brackets after self.state, and put in 2. But actually, let's be a bit cleaner about it. Let's take out this animation indexes and put it in a variable right above. So we're going to do local index start comma, index end. So we're doing a multiple assignment here, and we're going to do table.unpack and animation indexes, open brackets, self.state, close brackets, and then close parentheses. So what this is doing is that it's taking the second table, and the unpack function basically makes it so that each value is being thrown out individually. It's being returned individually so that you can do a multiple assignment. So now we have our index start and index end. So if self.index is less than index end, then we're going to do, actually we've got two conditions to check here. We're going to do if self.index, so write it out, if self.index is greater than index start and self.index is less than index end, then self.index plus equals to 1. So that's the normal route, let's say. Then we can say else self.index equals index start. Does that make sense, everybody? We're just looping through or starting at the beginning in case the index is outside. So we've set the animation state here to pre. So what we should be seeing if we run is that the animation loops through just the beginning part, which doesn't seem to be happening. Congratulations, everybody. Aha. What's happened? So here we can do greater than or equal to. I think that's it. If self.index is greater than or equal to, so it's a greater equals, index start, then we can run it. Because I think it's stuck at index 1 and it's not able to loop through. Let's try that again. Yes. So here you can see that we're running through the first 10 frames and nothing else. So let's check if it works with loop. So change at line 32 or wherever you are, self.state equals animation states.loop. See if that works. And you can see that it's basically looping through the animation. And we can try one more, which is animation states.end. Oh, sorry, I called it post. Because or else Lua's going to get confused. So post, and you can see that it's going the very end of the... In fact, it seems a little bit short to me, but no, I guess it's fine. All right, so end of chapter 1. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to control the state of this animation. So let's switch this back to pre, self.state equals animation states.pre. And we're going to make it so that if you're done with the pre-animation, you go immediately into the loop animation. And we're going to continue the loop animation until somebody tells us to do the end animation. So let's get into that. We're going to do if self.state equals animation states.pre and self.index is less than index start. Sorry. Self.index is greater than index start. Then self.state equals animation states.loop. So what this does is that once it reaches the end of the pre-animation, it goes into the loop animation. And so this thing is undefined because we have to move this table unpacked line all the way up to the top of update. So this gets us the values that we need in order to make that check. So this goes from pre to loop. And you can see that basically if we run it, it's going to play the start and then it loops. So here you're seeing that we're playing the loop animation. We're going to add one more, which we're not going to see directly right now. We're going to do if self.state equals animation states dot post and self.index is greater than index start. Sorry, end. Oh, I made a mistake before. It needs to be index end. Greater than index end, then self.state equals animation states dot none. And so, sorry, it's only one equals there. And this animation states dot none, right now we're not doing anything with it. Let's tell the animation to not do anything when it's on none. So we're going to add this to the very top of the update function. If self.state equals, and this double equals animation states dot none, then return. So this quits the update function altogether if there's no animation to be done. So let's run that, and you should see that it's just looping through pre. Suspicious, because basically, yeah, I think if we turn it, instead of doing greater than, we could do a greater than or equals, or just an equals sign. Let's do greater than or equals, just, you know, for consistency with this one here. So let's run that again. And you can see that it started and now it's looping. Let's check this more thoroughly, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to main.lua. We're gonna go inside this init function, and we're gonna use a timer to tell the thing to start after 1 or 2 seconds, and then after 1 or 2 seconds more, we're gonna tell it to stop. So how do we do that? First of all, we're gonna do import open quotes /timer, and then we're going to go down to init function, and we're going to go to the end of that and say playdate.timer. And this is my favorite function of all the Playdate SDK, perform after delay. Open parentheses, and let's say 1 second, so 1000. Open parentheses 1000, comma, function. And so this callback is a function. We're going to give it a function, and we're going to tell it what to do after 1 second. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do particles dot. Okay, hold on. Let's put a comment here. Placeholder. -- start animation. And then we're going to go down below that perform after delay, and we're going to do another one. Playdate.timer.perform after delay. And here we're going to say 4000, and then give it another function. Open and end, and we're going to do -- end animation. So we're going to create these functions that allow us to interact with the particles class from the main.lua. So let's try that. After your particles.init function, we're going to create another function below that. We're going to say function particles : start animation. Open close brackets at the end. And so here we're going to say self.state equals animation states.pre. Good job, guys. Next one, function particles : and animation. Open close brackets. Self.state equals animation states dot post, and then end. So this will allow us to control the state from outside of this. And just for consistency, we're going to go self.state, this first one inside the init function, we're going to do equals none, animation states.none. So let's try that. Sorry, one more thing. Particles, from the main.lua, we're going to do particles : start animation, where we put that placeholder. And then we're going to do particles : end animation, where we put the other one. So guys, cross your fingers. Let's run the code. More than 1 second passed, guys. Sorry, bad news. That didn't work. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, so what we're missing, I spent 30 minutes on this when I was preparing it earlier. So we're going to do, inside the playdate.update, we're going to do playdate.timer.update timers. Open close brackets. So this updates all the timer libraries of the game. So obviously you need to do that if you want to call something like perform after delay. And let's try that again. Ready? Boom, it's starting, it's continuing, and then it's, oh, okay. We've got a weird end frame there, but that almost worked. So we're just gonna clean up this particles update loop a little bit. So first of all, we're gonna, instead of doing this check to see whether the index is above the start and below the end, which is basically checking whether it's in range in order to increment it, it doesn't work perfectly because I think the end is not getting checked well. So we're actually going to simplify this. We're going to swap these two around. So what we're going to do is that we're going to take the first line, the if statement. We're going to do self.index is less than index start and change the end to an or. And then self.index is more than index end. At this point, we're gonna basically put the index, we're gonna reset the index to the start. So that's gonna set it back to the start. So if you imagine like the index is gonna loop through, let's say there's 10 different frames, it's gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then as soon as it tries to go to 11, it's gonna go back to 1. So rather than getting, I think previously, we had some mistakes there. And then on the else, we're gonna do self.index plus equals to 1. Okay, so that's one thing. Just for cleanliness, I also want to change these other if statements that check the state and the index. We're going to change this self.index is greater than or equal to. We're going to change it to just an equals to. So remember to use double equal sign, everybody. This is a Boolean operator. That means that we're evaluating whether this thing is equal to this thing. Not the same thing as an assignment operator, which is here. And everybody who's done programming before right now is looking at me like, Franchovi, I know this. But maybe one of you need to know that. So you're welcome to that, one of you. And let's just run, see whether, so if we're going back to main, just to refresh, we have a timer for 1 second where we start the animation, and we have a timer for 4 seconds where we stop the animation. So let's see if that works. Let's run the game, press A to see this menu. Okay, started and ended. Guys, this is it. We got it, okay? We got our spaceship game. I think that's all I have for you today. I know this was a quick one. I just wanted to follow up on the previous one. So thank you guys so much for watching. And feel free to leave your suggestions again in the comments for what to do next. And we're going to add some exciting things into this game. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.